Sit down. Boy, this is a courtroom, not your playground. The judge's voice cut through the air, sharp as a crack of thunder against glass, and every eye in the room turned to look. But I didn't flinch, not yet. That would come later. For now, let me back up a sec, take you to where all this really began. 5:12 a.m., East Detroit, a neighborhood just barely awake under those thick gray skies, freight trains rumbling somewhere in the distance. In apartment 3B, my mom Angela was pouring instant coffee into a chipped mug, robe knotted tight, face drawn after another graveyard shift. I was 13, already dressed for school khakis, button up, socks still white like I hadn't lived enough to scuff them up yet, sitting at our scarred kitchen table, running my thumb over the spiral binding of my notebook. "You been reading that Constitution again?" she asked, half smiling, exhaustion still heavy in her eyes. "Just brushing up on the Fourth Amendment," I told her, trying to sound casual. "Unreasonable searches and seizures, you know?" She chuckled, but there was this tension hiding underneath. "Well, make sure your locker's clean then, genius." She meant it as a joke, but before I could answer, our front door just exploded, hinges shrieking, 6 NYPD officers pouring in, guns drawn, shouting for our hands. The coffee mug shattered on the floor. I froze with a gun in my face. "And shoot, he's just a child." My mom screamed, hands up, trembling. "Angela Miller," an officer barked, "you're under arrest for theft of proprietary data and obstruction." My voice was a whisper in all that chaos. "What are you talking about?" But they twisted her arms behind her back, reciting Miranda rights like they'd done it 100 times that week. "You've got the wrong person," she cried. "I don't even have computer access after 6 p.m. Ask my supervisor." They didn't listen. They never do. Family photos were knocked from the walls, bookshelves upended, my backpack spilled open, me notebook, her recipes, everything just scattered. "Call Miss Davis next door," she said, trying to catch my eye, wrists locked in steel. "Stay with her." And Jordan didn't get involved. But I couldn't hear her. I was watching the cop, white, middle-aged, murmuring to his buddy. They're all the same, welfare queens in business suits. My mom never took a dime of welfare in her life. The door slammed, leaving this roaring silence behind, a silence so loud it felt like the air itself was screaming. If you've ever felt that, you know what I mean. I just stood there, staring at the wreckage, until I finally knelt to pick up my notebook, pages crumpled, but still there. Miss Davis, our neighbor, old, careful, always praying, opened her door the second she saw my face. "Oh, Lord," she whispered, pulling me inside, wrapping me in a blanket, pouring bitter tea, her way of fixing things no one could really fix. "Sometimes, baby, life don't give us warning. It just kicks down the door." I didn't answer. I was too busy staring at my list of legal cases. Brady v. Maryland, Miranda, Hudson v. Michigan scrawled in my notebook like they were spells that might save us. "I'm going to find out who set her up," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "And I'm going to make them listen." Out the window, the patrol car still idled, a reminder the system never really leaves. So I skipped school, took the city bus to the Detroit Public Library. It was all marble floors, high domed ceilings, and shadows that made me feel both tiny and untouchable. I camped out in the law section, notebook open, pen moving as fast as my mind, copying out statutes, legal definitions, procedures, trying to armor myself with words. "Don't you kids have school?" A voice broke in. It was a librarian, sharp glasses, gray sweater, name tag, Ramirez. "I had a family emergency," I mumbled, not looking up. She left a granola bar and a water next to my book. "Hydrate. You look like you burn through energy faster than a race car." First time I cracked a real smile that day. Later, she sat down across from me, her voice softer. "My brother did 5 years for something he didn't do. They never cared what we said. Records disappeared. Justice isn't free, especially for folks like us." I told her about my mom, how her boss, Vincent Hale, accused her of stealing company data, how the lawyer didn't seem to care. "Well," she said, "let's make sure you're reading the right books." She taught me how to search court records, how to dig for hidden files. That day, I started my own case, found flaws in the search warrant, holes in the evidence chain, a motive for Hale. But theory wasn't enough, I needed proof. Next stop, the legal aid office. It smelled like old coffee and bad news. I waited for hours until Jane Flannery, my mom's public defender, finally emerged, exhausted and ready to blow me off. "I'm Angela Miller's son," I blurted. "I have evidence." She just stared until I showed her my no-test timelines, logs, diagrams, everything. "You're just a kid," she said. "You shouldn't be reading this." "But I am," I said, "and my mom's in jail because nobody else will." She just sighed. "If you want justice, you need more than a notebook." Then she left me standing there, 13 and alone in a system that never looks back. But I wasn't giving up. The next morning, Ramirez handed me a list of attorneys, a tip about Judge Hollister how his courtroom got meaner whenever someone black was on trial. By dusk, I was sneaking through the back halls of Stratton Towers with a visitor badge, following a tip from Ramirez's friend, hunting for anything to tie Hale to the crime. The archive room was cold, cabinets humming with secrets. And there it was, Hale's visitor log, showing he was in the building the night my mom was framed, hours after her shift. I snapped photos, heart pounding. As I left, a janitor caught me, old man, coffee thermos in hand. "You Letitia's boy?" he asked. I saw Hale, nervous, stuffing something in his briefcase. "Nobody will believe me over a man like him." I told him. "Name's Otis. If you need me, I'm on the 12th floor." Back home, I uploaded the evidence, starting to believe maybe, just maybe, we had shot. Court day came fast. The courtroom was freezing, the wood and sweat and worry hanging in the air. I sat in the third pew, suit too big, notebook burning a hole in my backpack. When the judge called my mom's case, Flannery barely looked up. The prosecutor read the charges like a shopping list. The judge denied every request for delay or leniency. "Do you have anything to say, Mrs. Miller?" he asked. "I'm not guilty, Your Honor," my mom said, voice clear. The judge smirked. That was I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up. "Your Honor, the evidence was planted." My voice cracked, but it echoed off the wood. The judge glared. "This is a courtroom, not a sandbox." But I kept going about the logs, the visitor records, Otis as a witness, the audit that didn't match up. The room went dead quiet. Flannery buried her face in her hands. The judge demanded my notebook flip through pages, eyes narrowing. "Where did you get this?" he pressed. I studied. I read. I made friends who see things. Hale protested. "You can't accept this from a kid." Hollister waved him off and then ordered the deputies to take me into temporary custody. My mom screamed. "Miss Davis, I'm not done," I told her. In the holding room, Hollister came in alone. "You're brilliant," he said, "and reckless." "She's my mom," I told him. "Teach me not to fail." He stared, then finally agreed to review my evidence, issuing a subpoena for Hale's access records. For the first time since all this started, I felt the system blink. The days that followed were a blur, digging for more, talking to Otis, who slipped me a photo of Hale in the server room at the exact time he'd claimed he was home. It was grainy, but it was enough to shake Flannery out of autopilot. "It's a thread, Jordan. If we pull hard enough, maybe the whole thing unravels." Otis agreed to testify, even though his voice was shaky, saying, "For Angela and for you, I'll do it." The hearing was chaos. Reporters, spectators, all eyes on us for once. Flannery presented the photo. Otis told his story. Hale got caught in his own contradictions. For once, the prosecution looked rattled. When closing arguments came, Flannery spoke from the heart about my mom's quiet strength, Otis's courage, and the idea that justice waits for the right person to listen. The prosecutor tried to bring it back to logic, to data, but the tide had turned. The jury was out for hours. In that holding room, I sat beside my mom, both of us silent, both of us just waiting. When the verdict came, it landed like a thunderclap, not guilty. The room exhaled, and for the first time in months, my mom hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. Otis just nodded, pride shining through those tired eyes. After that, everything shifted. Hale was suspended, an audit opened into his old cases. My mom got offered her job back. She turned it down to teach ethics, telling her new students that quiet integrity can stand up to loud corruption. Otis started working for a nonprofit, helping folks find their voice. And me? Harvard Law sent me a letter not acceptance. but an invite for promising kids who might just make the law better one day. I took that train to Boston with a fire in my chest, hearing that retired justice tell me, "Keep your fire, kid, but know when to use heat and when to use light." On the anniversary of the verdict, our neighborhood came together, big speeches, just food and truth. Judge Hollister passed by, unrobed, giving a nod, like he finally saw us. Under the city lights, I wrote 3 times in my notebook, "Justice doesn't shout, it listens." And that night, for the first time, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, the system can bend. So what do you think? Can justice ever truly be fair? Or is it just the sum of the voices brave enough to demand it? Tell me below, because somewhere out there, another kid like me is taking notes, and he needs to know he's not alone.